The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled every seat, cameras waiting to capture the downfall of one of the city's most powerful CEOs, Claire Whitman. She stood accused of corruption, betrayal, and crimes that could destroy not only her company but thousands of families who depended on it. At the very back of the room, a man quietly mopped the marble floor. His uniform was faded, his shoes scuffed. Most people never even noticed him. He was the janitor, the kind of man the world looked past without a second thought. But today would be different. His name was Daniel Hayes. To the staff, he was just a janitor. Nobody knew he was a single father, a veteran who had once carried soldiers out of burning buildings, or a man who had seen more sacrifice than most could imagine. Day after day, he cleaned the floors, emptied the trash, and kept the courthouse spotless. He never asked for recognition, never wanted attention. But he noticed things others didn't. He listened when people thought nobody was around. And over the years, he had grown protective of the very place where justice was supposed to live. That's why he couldn't stay silent, not today. The case against Claire Whitman looked airtight. Witness after witness painted her as greedy and cruel. The prosecution's star witness, a slick executive named Richard Lang, pointed his finger and told the jury that Claire had ordered the destruction of evidence to cover her tracks. But Daniel knew the truth. Late one night, when most of the courthouse was empty, Daniel had overheard a conversation in the men's restroom. Richard Lang was bragging to another man about framing Claire, laughing about how he had falsified documents and paid off insiders. Daniel had frozen in place, mop in hand, realizing he was holding the kind of truth that could change everything. But who would believe him? He was just a janitor. As the trial neared its end, the prosecution prepared to deliver its final blow. Claire sat at the defense table, pale and defeated. Her entire life's work was crumbling. That's when Daniel did the unthinkable. He put down his mop, walked straight to the judge, and said in a steady voice, "Your Honor, I need to testify." The courtroom gasped. The bailiff tried to usher him out, but the judge, an old man with tired eyes, leaned forward. "On what grounds?" Daniel swallowed hard. "On the grounds that the truth has been buried, and I won't let an innocent woman go down for someone else's crime." The room fell silent. Against all odds, the judge allowed him to take the stand. At first, the lawyers laughed. A janitor giving testimony? Ridiculous. But as Daniel spoke, the tone shifted. He described the night he overheard Richard's conversation, word for word. He recited details so sharp, so precise, that even the defense attorney stopped scribbling notes and just stared. The prosecution tried to tear him apart. "Why should we believe you? You're nothing more than a janitor." Daniel's answer was simple. "Because the truth doesn't care what uniform I wear." Then came the twist no one expected. Daniel revealed he had quietly recorded the entire conversation on his old phone. He pulled it from his pocket, hands shaking, and played it for the court. The room erupted. Richard Lang's voice filled the speakers, mocking, arrogant, undeniable. He had set Claire up. In seconds, the trial flipped. The jury's faces hardened. The judge's gavel slammed again and again for order. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Daniel as though seeing him for the first time, not as the janitor, but as the man who had saved her life's work, her reputation, and the livelihoods of thousands of families who depended on her company. Richard Lang was arrested on the spot for perjury and fraud. And Daniel? He quietly stood, ready to return to his mop and bucket, as though nothing had happened, but Claire wouldn't let him fade back into the shadows. When the reporters swarmed her after the verdict, she didn't talk about herself. She pointed to Daniel and said, "That man is the real hero today. Don't call him just the janitor. Call him what he is, the reason justice still lives in this building." For the first time, Daniel smiled, not because he wanted recognition, but because he realized something important. Sometimes the smallest acts of courage, done by people the world overlooks, can change everything. Weeks later, Daniel went back to work, still wearing the same faded uniform. But now, when people passed him in the halls, they nodded, smiled, even stopped to thank him. Claire offered him a high-ranking job in her company, but he politely refused. "I'm right where I belong," he said. "Keeping this place clean, inside and out." And every night, when he mopped the floors of that courthouse, people walked by knowing the truth. He was never just the janitor. He was the man who stood up when it mattered most. Sparkle's final message: never underestimate quiet people. Sometimes, the ones we overlook carry the courage to change the world.